What would you do if everyone questioned your right to belong in a place you'd earned through blood and merit? Staff Sergeant Perlina Rowe adjusts her rifle on the shooting bench. The morning sun cuts through Fort Bragg's humid air around her. Dozens of soldiers prepare for the annual marksmanship competition. Their conversations buzz with nervous energy and boastful predictions. Perlina's weapon looks different from the others. Where there's gleam with factory precision, hers bears the weathered patina of decades. The wooden stock shows honest where scratches that tell stories dense that whisper of battles fought. She runs her fingers along the familiar grain, feeling the smooth depression where countless hands have gripped this. Rifle has been her companion for 3 years since she found it in her grandmother's attic wrapped in oiled cloth and memories. The other soldiers begin to notice whispers drift across the range, like smoke. Private Zebulon Marsh nudges his buddy. Look at Rose's antique thing belongs in a museum. Not a competition. Sergeant Emmett Crowley chuckles darkly amused. Maybe she's confused about which century we're in. That relic probably can't hit the broadside of a barn. The laughter spreads, each comment sharper than the last. Perlina keeps her focus forward, checking her scope, adjusting her stance. Her jaw tightens, but she says nothing. She thinks of her grandmother's stories, tales of precision and honor, of shots that mattered more than points. The old woman's voice echoes in memory. This rifle chose our family, baby girl, and now it's chosen you. Master Sergeant Orville Paxton, the range supervisor, approaches with clipboard in hand. His eyes narrow as he surveys her setup. The man has 20 years in the service, commands respect through intimidation. His uniform sharp as his tongue. Rowe, what's this supposed to be? This is a serious competition, not a historical reenactment. Perlina meets his gaze steadily. It's my rifle, Master Sergeant, fully functional and within regulation. Paxton snorts, barely containing his disdain. Regulation doesn't mean wise. You're embarrassing yourself. And this unit, the words hit like physical blows, but Perlina doesn't flinch. She's heard variations of this her entire military career. A woman in a man's world, carrying an old rifle in a modern war. Behind the crowd of soldiers, groundskeeper Horace Delaney watches silently. He leans against his maintenance cart, weathered hands gripping a worn cap. His eyes hold something the others miss: recognition. The man has worked these grounds for 30 years, seen thousands of soldiers come and go, but something about that rifle makes his breath catch, makes memories stir like leaves in autumn. When the competition begins, first round. Precision shooting at 100 yards. Perlina steps to the line, shoulders her rifle. The familiar weight settles perfectly, like coming home around her. Soldiers with their high-tech equipment, electronic sights, and tactical accessories prepare for their turns. They shake their heads at her simple setup: iron sights and instinct. Private Virginia Hope adjusts her digital scope, muttering to her squad mate, watch this amateur embarrass herself. That old thing probably shoots left or can't hold zero. The range falls silent, except for the whisper of wind through grass. Perlina breathes slow and steady. Her grandmother's voice echoes in memory. Breathe, baby girl, let the rifle be part of you. She fires. The shot cracks across the range, clean and true. The spotter calls out 10 ring. Center mass. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Lucky shot. Someone mutters, let's see her do it again. Perlina reloads, fires again. Another perfect shot. The murmurs grow louder, now tinged with confusion. How is she doing this with that old thing? Corporal August Rowe, no relation, despite the name, shakes his head in disbelief. Must be the wind, or maybe the targets are off. But the mockery doesn't stop. If anything, it intensifies. Soldiers can't accept that their modern equipment is being outperformed by what they see as junk. Private Luella Kate whispers to her friend, maybe the targets are rigged. No way, that antique shoots better than our gear. Master Sergeant Paxton crosses his arms, his expression growing darker with each perfect shot. He doesn't like being wrong, especially not in front of his soldiers. The morning stretches on. Each round brings new challenges, longer distances, harder conditions, and each round brings new humiliation for those who underestimated the woman with the old rifle. Sergeant Dora Lenore approaches from the sidelines. Her voice carries across the range loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe she's got special ammunition or modified sights we can't see. The accusation hangs in the air like gun smoke. Perlina's shoulders tense, but she continues shooting, each shot perfect, each shot an answer to their doubts. Private Emmett Crowley joins the chorus. I've never seen iron sights shoot like that. Something's not right here. Maybe we should inspect her gear. The suggestion gains momentum. Soldiers nod and murmur agreement. The woman with the old rifle has disrupted their expectations, challenged their assumptions about Modern superiority Perlina shoots, and shoots true, but with each perfect score the hostility grows thicker. The soldiers' pride can't handle being shown up by what they consider inferior by midday. The competition has become something else, no longer about marksmanship, but about proving a point, about keeping someone in their place, about maintaining the natural order. The rifle in Perlina's hands grows heavier with each suspicious glance, each whispered comment, each barely concealed sneer. She doesn't know that across the range Horace Delaney has recognized something in the worn wood and weathered steel, something that would silence every voice if they only knew, something that would make Master Sergeant Paxton stand at attention and order everyone else to do the same. The serial number etched into the rifle's receiver tells a story that few are qualified to read, but Horace knows he's seen that number before in photographs and citations. In stories that made grown men weep, he watches Perlina shoot and sees not just a skilled marksman, but the inheritor of a legacy that transcends simple competition. The mockery continues, growing louder with each passing hour, but the truth waits, patient as the rifle itself, ready to reshape everything. These soldiers think they know. The afternoon sun beats down mercilessly as the competition moves to the 200-yard range. Perlina wipes sweat from her brow, her old rifle steady and practiced hands. The other soldiers cluster in groups, their conversations no longer whispered. The morning's perfect scores have rattled them, made them bold in their disbelief. Private Zebulon Marsh points at her rifle. Look at that thing up close, the woods. All beat up, probably warped from age. Sergeant Emmett Crowley nods, examining his own pristine weapon. My rifle cost $3,000, has every modern enhancement, and she's out shooting me with that antique. The crowd grows around them, soldiers abandoning their own preparations to join the collective incredulity. Their voices rise like a crescendo of wounded pride and stubborn denial. Corporal Virginia Hope steps forward, her voice carrying across the range. I say we demand an inspection. Check her ammunition, her scope mounting everything. Master Sergeant Paxton considers this his authority, questioned by the morning's results. A woman with an old rifle, making him look foolish in front of his soldiers. The idea spreads quickly. Murmurs of agreement, nods of approval, the mob mentality taking hold. Private Luella Kate adds fuel to the fire. Maybe she's using hand-loaded rounds, illegal modifications, something to give her an edge. Perlina hears every word, feels the weight of their stares like targets painted on her back, but she continues her routine, checking her rifle, preparing for the next round. The accusations grow bolder. Sergeant Dora Lenore raises her voice. I've been shooting for 15 years, never seen iron sights perform like that at this level of competition. Corporal August Rowe joins in. It's impossible. That rifle's probably older than she is. No way it shoots better than our gear. The chorus of doubt swells, each soldier adding their voice to the collective rejection of what they've witnessed. Horace Delaney watches from his position near the maintenance shed, his weathered hands grip his cap tighter. The serial number he glimpsed burns in his memory like a brand. He knows what these soldiers don't, knows the history carved into that rifle's receiver, the story that would silence their ridicule if they only understood. But he stays quiet, bound by something deeper than duty, a respect for the weapon and the woman who carries it. The competition continues, 300 yards now, wind picking up, conditions growing more challenging. Perlina steps to the line. The other soldiers fall silent, but their eyes burn with skepticism, waiting for her to fail, to prove their theories correct. She shoulders the rifle, feels its familiar weight, the smooth wood against her cheek. Her grandmother's voice whispers through memory and muscle. The shot rings out clean and true. 10 ring. Center mass, the spotter calls. The silence stretches heavy with disbelief. Then the accusations begin anew, louder than before. That's impossible. Private Zebulon Marsh shouts. Nobody shoots like that with equipment. That old master. Sergeant Paxton steps forward, his face flushed with embarrassment and growing anger. The morning's results have made him look incompetent. Questioned his judgment. Rowe, I'm ordering an equipment inspection. Something's not right here, and I intend to find out what. The crowd presses closer, eager to see her exposed, to watch her fall from the pedestal of perfect scores. Perlina sets her rifle down carefully, her movements deliberate, controlled. She's faced inspections before, faced doubt and discrimination with quiet dignity. Go ahead, Master Sergeant, she says simply. You'll find everything in order. Paxton examines the rifle, his hands rough on the worn wood. He checks the scope, mounting the trigger mechanism, the barrel crown. The other soldiers crowd around, pointing and commenting. Each one an expert now that they're looking for flaws. The ammunition comes next. Standard military issue. Nothing special, nothing modified. Her shooting jacket, her gloves, her stance, everything scrutinized, everything questioned, but they find nothing. No hidden modifications, no illegal enhancements, no secret advantages, just an old rifle well-maintained and perfectly functional. The inspection yields nothing, but the soldiers' suspicions remain. Their pride won't allow them to accept simple truth. Maybe she's just lucky. Sergeant Emmett Crowley suggests hot barrel. Perfect conditions won't last forever. The others nod, eagerly grasping at explanations that preserve their worldview, their sense of superiority. Corporal Virginia Hope crosses her arms. I still say something's off. Nobody shoots like that with iron sights. The ridicule shifts, but doesn't diminish. Now they question her training, her background, her right to be here. Private Luella Kate whispers loudly, maybe she's had professional coaching, private lessons, unfair advantages, the conspiracy theories. Multiply each soldier, adding their suspicion to the growing pile of wounded egos. Perlina listens to it all, her face a mask of calm, but inside, the words cut deep, each accusation a small wound that bleeds dignity. She thinks of her grandmother, of the stories told in a small farmhouse kitchen of honor and service, of shots that mattered. The old woman's voice echoes, let them talk, baby girl. The rifle knows its worth, even if they don't. The afternoon wears on. The ridicule continues, growing more creative, more personal, but across the range, Horace Delaney watches and remembers the serial number burned into his memory like a prayer. He knows the truth that would silence every voice, humble every critic, honor every perfect shot. The rifle in Perlina's hands carries more than bullets, more than accuracy, more than simple function. It carries a legacy written in steel and wood, in blood and sacrifice, in stories that deserve telling. But for now, the mockery continues. The ridicule flows like water over stone, and Perlina endures, patient as the rifle itself, waiting for truth to find its voice. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. Let us know what you think about standing up to ridicule. The fourth round begins at 400 yards. Wind gusts across the range, carrying dust and doubt in equal measure. Perlina adjusts her position, compensating for the crosswind, her rifle steady. Despite the growing storm of hostility, the other soldiers have abandoned pretense. Their ridicule, now open warfare conducted in broad daylight under Master Sergeant Paxton's watchful eye. Private Zebulon Marsh approaches her bench, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Hey, Ro, how much did you pay for that museum piece? Laughter ripples through the crowd, each chuckle a small cruelty designed to chip away at her composure. Sergeant Emmett Crowley joins the attack. Maybe she bought it at a garage sale from some old veteran's widow who didn't know any better. The jokes grow meaner, more personal, each comment designed to humiliate, to make her question herself. Corporal Virginia Hope circles like a predator, sensing weakness. Her voice drips with false sympathy. It's okay to admit you're outclassed. Nobody expects you to compete with real soldiers. The words sting, but Perlina doesn't respond. She focuses on her breathing, on the familiar weight of the rifle on her grandmother's voice. Private Luella Kate pushes further. Maybe she should stick to the kitchen, leave the real shooting to people who know what they're doing. The crowd erupts in laughter, cruel and sharp, like broken glass cutting through the afternoon air. Master Sergeant Paxton watches, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable, but he doesn't intervene, doesn't stop the harassment, doesn't protect his soldier. His silence speaks volumes. Permission granted through inaction, authority enabling cruelty. Perlina feels the weight of institutional abandonment, the system that should protect her turning its back when she needs it most. She steps to the firing line. The mockery follows her like a shadow, dark and persistent. That antique probably kicks like a mule. Sergeant Dora Lenore calls out, hope you can handle the recoil, sweetheart. The endearment drips with condescension, each syllable a small humiliation designed to remind her of her place. Corporal August Rowe adds his voice to the chorus of cruelty. Maybe we should get her a smaller rifle, something more her size. The suggestions grow more insulting, each comment calculated to diminish her presence, to make her smaller. But across the range, a different kind of witness watches in growing disgust. Horace Delaney grips his cap, his knuckles white with suppressed anger. 30 years of service, 30 years of watching soldiers come and go, but he's never seen harassment this blatant, this cruel, this unopposed. His eyes drift to the rifle, to the serial number etched in weathered steel, the story it tells burning in his memory. These soldiers mock what they don't understand, ridicule a legacy they're not worthy to touch. He wants to speak, to tell them the truth, but something holds him back, a deeper Respect for the woman who carries the burden. She must choose when to reveal the truth, when to claim her inheritance, when to silence her critics. The harassment escalates. Private Zebulon Marsh approaches closer, his voice theatrical. Hey, everyone come. Watch the antique show. The crowd gathers like vultures around Carrion, feeding on her discomfort, growing bolder with each laugh. Maybe she needs glasses. Sergeant Emmett Crowley suggests can't see well enough to use a real scope. The jokes about her age, her gender, her equipment blend into a symphony of cruelty. Corporal Virginia Hope pretends concern. Should we call a medic? She might hurt herself with that cannon. Each comment lands like a blow, but Perlina doesn't flinch, doesn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She thinks of her grandmother, of the stories told in quiet evening hours of courage under fire. The old woman's voice echoes. They fear what they don't understand. Baby girl, show them what courage looks like. Master Sergeant Paxton finally speaks, but not to defend her. His voice carries across the range, cold and dismissive. Maybe Rose should consider using standard equipment like everyone else. The suggestion sounds reasonable, but carries the weight of institutional pressure. Conform or face consequences. Private Luella Kate seizes the opening. Yeah. Get a real rifle. Join the 21st century. The crowd approves, their laughter harsh and encouraging, feeding the mob mentality. Sergeant Dora Lenore adds fuel. Maybe she's afraid of change, too set in her ways to adapt. The personal attacks continue, each one more creative, more cutting than the last. But Perlina prepares to shoot, her movements deliberate, controlled. Despite the chaos around her, the rifle settles against her shoulder, familiar as breathing, steady as her heartbeat, true as her purpose. She fires. The shot cracks through the air, cutting through the mockery like a blade through silk. 10 ring. Center mass. The spotter calls. The silence stretches momentarily, stunning the crowd of critics, their assumptions shattered again. Then the accusations resume, louder than before, desperate to explain what they can't accept. That's impossible. Private Zebulon Marsh shouts, nobody shoots like that in these conditions. The wind, the distance, the pressure, all working against her, but the rifle knows its business. And so does she. Each shot a small victory, each score a quiet rebellion. The harassment continues. But something has shifted. The perfect shots under pressure, revealing character that transcends equipment. Horace Delaney watches, his respect growing with each perfect score, each dignified response. He knows the truth that would silence every voice, humble every critic. Honor every shot. The rifle she carries bears witness to history, to service beyond measure, to sacrifice beyond understanding. But that truth waits, patient as the weapon itself, for the right moment to reshape everything. The mockery flows like poison through the ranks, but Perlina endures, steady as the rifle in her hands. The final round arrives, 500 yards in gathering dusk, the longest distance, the hardest conditions, the ultimate test. Perlina's perfect scores have silenced some critics, but hardened others, their disbelief now desperate, bordering on hysteria. Private Zebulon Marsh paces like a caged animal, his voice rising with frustration. This is impossible. She's cheating somehow. Sergeant Emmett Crowley nods agreement, his face flushed with anger, sweat beading on his forehead. No way. That antique outperforms our equipment. The crowd grows restless, their morning confidence shattered by afternoon reality, their modern weapons humbled by weathered wood, their egos bruised beyond repair. Master Sergeant Paxton steps forward, his authority questioned, his judgment undermined by one woman's perfect shooting, his career reputation crumbling with each impossible score. Row, I'm calling for a second inspection. Something's not right here, and I won't stand for it. The accusation hangs in the air, heavy with implication, a career-ending suggestion wrapped in official concern, the threat unmistakable beneath professional language. Perlina sets her rifle down, her movements careful, controlled, precise as her shooting. She's faced this before, the institutional doubt, the systematic undermining, the way power protects itself. Go ahead, Master Sergeant, she says quietly, you'll find what you found before, nothing but honest equipment and honest shooting. But before Paxton can move, before the inspection begins, before the harassment continues, a weathered voice cuts through the tension like a blade through silk. That won't be necessary, Master Sergeant. Everyone turns, surprised by the interruption. Horace Delaney approaches, his maintenance uniform dusty from honest work, but his bearing commands attention, dignity earned through decades. Groundskeeper rarely speaks to officers or soldiers, content to work in silence, invisible to most, a ghost in their peripheral vision, forgotten until needed. But now he walks with purpose, his eyes fixed on the rifle, on the serial number etched in Weathered steel, the truth he's carried finally ready for daylight. And know that weapon, he says simply know its history, know what it's done, know the blood it's spilled in service to this country. Master Sergeant Paxton frowns his irritation clear authority. Challenged by a mere civilian, this is a military matter, not your concern. Horace doesn't flinch, doesn't step back. His voice carries 30 years of witness service, of quiet observation, of stories told in confidence. That rifle belonged to Sergeant Major Eleanor Rowe, Medal of Honor recipient, Korean War veteran, one of the finest soldiers ever to serve. The name hits like lightning. Eleanor Rowe, the grandmother, whose stories filled Perlina's childhood with tales of honor and impossible shots. Under impossible conditions, Horace continues, his voice growing stronger with each remembered detail, each piece of history pulled from careful memory. 3 confirmed kills at over 800 yards, enemy snipers eliminated when no one else could make the shots. The crowd falls silent, their ridicule dying in their throats, history speaking through one man's faithful memory, truth demanding respect. She saved an entire company, Horace says, holding that ridge for 6 hours straight against overwhelming odds. His weathered hands gesture toward the rifle, toward the legacy they've been mocking all day long. That woman shot with iron sights in conditions that would challenge any modern soldier. Wind, rain, enemy fire, and never missed. The serial number he recites from memory, perfectly matching the rifle in Perlina's hands, no doubt remaining, no argument possible. The crowd stares, mouths agape. Private Zebulon Marsh, his face pale with dawning realization of what he's been mocking. Sergeant Emmett Crowley steps back, his mockery transformed to sudden respect, shame coloring his features like a spreading stain. Master Sergeant Paxton stands frozen, his authority crumbling under the weight of truth, his harassment exposed as ignorance and pride. Corporal Virginia Hope whispers apologies, too late to matter, too small to heal the wounds inflicted throughout the day. Horace walks closer, his eyes meeting Perlina's with deep understanding, shared recognition of burdens carried across generations. Your grandmother, he says softly, was the finest soldier I ever had the honor to know, saved more lives than she ever took. The words flow like water on parched ground, validation after hours of doubt and ridicule. Truth finally speaking in its own voice. She earned that rifle through blood and sacrifice, through shots that mattered more than competition, more than pride, more than politics. Eleanor Rowe's story unfolds through Horace's careful words, each detail precious, each memory honored. The legend made flesh through testimony. The crowd disperses slowly at first, then faster, as shame replaces bravado, as truth replaces ignorance, as honor replaces mockery. Each soldier retreats to examine their conscience, to confront their cruelty, to face their smallness. In the presence of greatness they failed to recognize. Master Sergeant Paxton remains standing, his face a mask of professional embarrassment, authority humbled by superior. Truth staff, Sergeant Rowe, he says formally, please accept my apologies for the treatment you received today at this range. The words sound hollow, too little, too late. Institutional damage control after institutional failure. But Perlina nods with quiet dignity. Thank you, Master Sergeant, she replies. The rifle has been vindicated, and so has she. Honor restored, legacy acknowledged. The final shots are fired in respectful silence, each soldier humbled by the truth revealed. Modern weapons quiet before ancient honor. Perlina's perfect scores now make sense, legacy and skill combining in her hands, history and present merging in precision. The competition ends, but the real victory belongs to truth, to honor remembered, to stories that survive the telling. Horace approaches as the crowd fades, his weathered face kind with understanding, gentle with respect for burdens shared. She'd be proud, he says simply, of how you handled yourself, how you honored her memory, how you carried the legacy forward. Perlina nods, her throat tight with emotion, the rifle heavy with history light, with vindication perfect in her hands. The mockery is over, the ridicule silenced. Truth has found its voice and spoken with authority. History has reclaimed its proper place. The evening sun sets on Fort Bragg's range, but Eleanor Rowe's legacy shines eternal through her granddaughter's hands, through her rifle's truth in the hands of her granddaughter, in the precision of each shot, in the dignity of quiet strength. The story continues, honor to honor, generation to generation. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe. Honor the legacy of those who served.